Hello friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today we're going to talk through my June TBR, which is my Amazing Readathon TBR. I have never participated in the Amazing Readathon and I'm very, very excited to be able to participate this year. I will have the readathon announcement linked below. This readathon is hosted in June by the lovely Bree from Four Paws in a Book, and I will have her channel linked down below as well for you guys to go and check her out if you don't already know who Bree is. This readathon has been going on for the past 3 years, or I think this is the third year, and I have never participated because it's always been a little intimidating to me. Competitive readathons have always been intimidating, but this one in particular, it was very fast-paced, very chaotic, and I do think that it still will have some of those qualities, but the reason I've decided to participate this year is because the prompts were given to us ahead of time. This allows me to be able to collect a whole bunch of different reads from my library and have them accessible to me for a little bit. It is still a little challenging because of the fact that my my audiobooks are only available to me for 21 days. So I do kind of have to play a guessing game of when the prompts are going to come up and schedule my reads around that. So I do have a couple of options for each of the prompts just to kind of give myself a little bit of wiggle room. I also have some physical reads that I could potentially do from my physical TBR. That will help me kind of fill in the spaces if one of my library holds doesn't happen to come in on time. I am very excited about this. If you are someone who typically avoids competitive readathons, make sure you give that announcement video from Bree a try though, because there is something new again this year. Not only are the prompts given to us, but there is also a team for people who don't want the competitive nature of the readathon and are really just there for the community. So you should definitely check it out, even if you know you don't want to participate in a competitive readathon. Due to the fact that the Amazing Readathon does have 10 prompts total, as far as the legs go, there are some sightseeing prompts as well if you guys are going to read more than 10 books. I am just going to do those 10 prompts for this TBR and not fill my TBR with any other reads other than one podcast book. But as I said earlier, I am going to give myself a couple options for each prompt. So I think there's 21 books total in this TBR. I'm obviously not going to read all 21 books. I'm just trying to give myself some options, and maybe I'm giving you guys some options as well if you're at a loss for any of these prompts. The first prompt given to us was cozy comfort read, which I really appreciate this type of prompt for a competitive readathon because not only do I think that it is very versatile, you can kind of fill it with what your tastes are for cozy and comforting, but I also think because it's cozy and comforting, it allows that contrast from the competitive side of this readathon to kind of sit back and just relax. My top pick for this, the one I really want to read out of these two, is Night of the Living Cat. This is a manga that is about an apocalypse that happens, and instead of having like zombies, I think they might also be zombies, but I think, you know, the typical zombie story, people start turning into zombies. People start turning into cats. And the way that this spreads is if you cuddle a cat that is infected, so you cuddle a cat that used to be a person, then you become a cat as well. And there's a whole bunch of cat lovers in the world who have kind of banded together and they're having a really hard time, obviously not cuddling with these cats that exist, but they don't want to become cats themselves. And I just think it sounds really fun and a little kooky. And so I'm excited to get to this one. If I end up losing my library hold before I can get to this one, I do have a backup, and that is Crenshaw. This is I think it's a 3-hour audiobook. And it's been on my TBR for a really long time. It's a story that does involve family. So I am on the lore keepers. I haven't said that already. And so I do get some bonus points if my books do have family vibes or some type of family element. And this particular book is focusing on a young boy and his family who are really down on their luck. They are contemplating having to move into their van, which is not the first time that they have lived in their car. And he creates an imaginary friend who is a cat. He's a huge cat named Crenshaw. And it's supposed to be a story of him dealing with this traumatic experience and hardship that his family is going through. The next prompt was a violent word in the title. And I actually have 3 options for this. The first one that I really want to get to, but I'm kind of hesitant because it is very long, is He Who Fights with Monsters. This is about, I think it's a portal world, because this man who was an office supply manager, like in our world, ends up in some fantasy world and has to fight monsters, and he doesn't have any clue what he's doing. And it just kind of sounds goofy. It also is touted as one of the best audiobooks from, I don't know if it was last year or a couple of years ago, but if I do read this, I will be reading it on audio. And so I am excited to kind of experience something that a lot of people think is great. So that's one of my options. I also have The Lovely War, which I talked about in my recent video that I was talking about my yearly challenge. This is a book that is a little out of my comfort zone. It is YA, historical, and romance. It's about some romances that occurred in World War I. And we currently, as the readers, are in World War II, and Aphrodite is explaining to her husband and another god that love always conquers war. And she does it by telling the love story that she watched happen back in World War I. And so I think it's an interesting premise. I'm kind of excited to read it, but I'm also a little skeptical. So that one might be something that I pick up. And the third option for this is These Burning Stars, which is a sci-fi read, and I've just been wanting to pick up more sci-fi. It's a space opera. I'm pretty sure it's a debut, but I could be wrong. I'm trying to remember all of my different options. It is about a woman who discovers some secrets behind, I think, her, like, kind of the intergalactic people, that they have built their nations and their empire on top of the bones of other civilizations. Essentially, they knowingly caused genocide, and she has this information, is trying to essentially be a whistleblower, and there are a couple of people who are hunting her amongst the stars. So I think it would be interesting, and I have been wanting to read more sci-fi, so it is tempting. The next prompt is a low-rated book that you still think you're going to enjoy. And the first book that I have for this prompt is actually one that you all have recommended to me. I'm pretty sure Rod is the one who recommended this, and that is 12 Nights at Rotter House, which is a mystery horror, kind of, and at least that's kind of what it sounds like to me. I think that's also the video that this was on, if I remember correctly. But there is a guy who is he's trying to write a book, and he has gone into all of these haunted houses and haunted places, and he wants to write about those. Well, he finds out about Rotter House and convinces the person who owns Rotter House to allow him to stay there for 2 weeks. And he is recording his experiences and writing down his experiences and hoping to get a best-selling novel, and things don't go as planned. I think it has some mixed media in it, which I'm really excited about. It's not very well rated, as the prompt suggests, but it does sound intriguing, so I think it could be for me. The next lower rated book is The Sky, or The Surviving Sky, which is a cli-fi science fiction about some floating human civilizations. So I don't know if it's Earth or if it's a different planet, but the level, like the ground level of the Earth is a very dangerous place, and humans have built a civilization that literally floats on top of the surface of the Earth to avoid a whole bunch of things that are happening down below, including storms, but I think there are also some other things that are happening. But they are living on a dying science, like a dying civilization, and eventually their machinery and things that they have built to create these floating cities is going to fail, and they are going to risk falling to the surface. And so I don't know exactly where we go from there. I like the idea, though. I think that I know that the world itself is a jungle planet, and the cover of this is just, it's intriguing to me. So this might be the one I pick up. We'll see. The next prompt was a large city. The first one, and the one I really want to read, is The Hexologists. This is by Josiah Bancroft, who wrote the Sinlin Ascends, the Books of Babel series, which I really enjoyed, and I've been wanting to read something else by him. I'm pretty sure this is a fantasy mystery featuring two people who are solving supernatural crimes, and like they have rescued abducted children, and it talks about like abducting or rescuing them from the abduction essentially of monsters, dealing with hexes and different things within this city. And I just think it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm curious because I want to read more by this author. The other book I might pick up for this is Lightfall, which is all about the last standing vampire city in the world. Vampires were hunted down by someone called, I think it's the Grey, and they all migrated to this city, and the city lives via a caste system. If you are a noble, you are able to kind of live high, and if you are poor, you get what's left in the trenches, and you're not allowed to ever leave the city if you enter it. So it sounds kind of dark. It is a debut. I remember that. So this one is also lowly rated. So it could be a lowly rated title for me too if I decide to read it for that prompt. But so it fits a couple of different things. The next prompt was a book that is shorter than your last read. So it's a little hard for me to pick a book for this because I don't know what order the prompts are going to go in. But I just picked 2 of the shortest books on my TBR, and I figured they would work. The first one is the one I really want to get to, and that is Benti. I really want to read something by this author, and I would like to try this book out because it has been recommended to me in the past. It's only 3 hours on audio, and it's sci-fi. It's about a woman who gets accepted into this university, but if she goes, there's something about her losing her place in her family to do certain things, to travel, essentially travel the stars. And it talks about the university that she's going to, I don't know if it's the planet that it's on or if it's the city that it's in, has wronged another nation, another civilization, and she has to deal with some of the ramifications of the history regarding that war. I don't know anything other than that. I kind of don't want to read into it since it's only a 3-hour audio, but I am excited to get to it. The other one that would kind of be my backup option would be What Feast at Night by T. Kingfisher. This is the second book in the What Moves the Dead series. I don't know what this series is actually called, but this would just be a series continuation for me. It's not one that I'm necessarily excited to pick up because I didn't really enjoy What Moves the Dead, but I have heard that this is a different story, and so I do kind of want to read it because I would like to read all of T. Kingfisher's backlist. I don't know if I'm going to get to it this month. Next, we have a green cover, and I actually have 2 physical TBR books for this. I really have 3 now that I'm looking at what I have in front of me. But the one that I really want to get to is Green Teeth. This was on my most recent book haul, and I'm really excited about it. It has folklore and fae in it, and I believe there is a witch that is maybe drowned or tried, like someone tries to drown her in this like swamp area. And is it Jenny Greenteeth? I know that there is an actual folklore legend surrounding this figure. I don't know the legend itself, but this figure kind of steps up and helps save the witch, and they go about their lives together. I don't know what goes on from there. I've kind of tried to go in blind because I think I'm really going to enjoy it. I know several people who have read this and enjoyed it, and so this is top of my list for green cover. My backup option that I am really excited to read as well, so if I could read both of them, that would be great. This is Guard in the Garden, and I have heard this. It's been all over Instagram. A couple of people that I've known or that I know have read it and really enjoyed it, and it just sounds really cozy and cute and summery. I mean, it looks summery to me. So this could also be cozy comfort read, I guess, too. Lots of these books can work for multiple prompts, but this is a story surrounding a veteran who I believe he gets injured and can't go back into battle and ends up having to come home. I think he ends up in a location that has a garden. I don't know if it's in the hospital that he's in or where exactly it is and why he's staying there, but he has to tend to the garden and deal with the trauma of what he's been through, but also not being able to go back. It's supposed to be a story of grief, a story of growth and mourning, and I think it's gonna be just lovely. Next, we have an over-the-top cover. And for this, I know it's probably not gonna look like much when I show you guys, but I've talked about this series a ton. I want to read Love Will Tear Us Apart. You can kind of see, so I don't blind you guys, this is actually a mirror on the front cover, but there are also these little tiny details on the cover that actually have to do with the things that are happening in the story. All of the covers to this series are like that, and I think these covers are absolutely fantastic. They are the reason. I mean, I love the books too. I love the content of the books. It's a hilarious time, but the covers are why I had to have physical copies of these stories, because I just think they're fantastic. If you haven't heard me talk about the Stranger Time series, this is the third book in that series, and it follows a newspaper that investigates supernatural mysteries to try and figure out if they really are supernatural or if there is something else going on. It's a whole cast of characters, and I freaking love it. Another over-the-top cover that I might go with is the Missing Pages. This is several short stories by Mark Lawrence that surround the Library series, which is the book that wouldn't burn is the first book in that series, and I've really, really enjoyed that. And this cover is just stunning with our little cat in the front, but we also have the library and the bird, the ravens in the background. I just think there's so much going on, and I just think it's absolutely stunning. So I wouldn't be mad if this is the one that I pick up. We'll see. The next prompt is a book with a romance. It doesn't have to be a romance book, just a book with a romance, which is good because I don't want just a romance book. I did choose a couple though that I do think have promise. So the first one is Clean Sweep. This was one that was recommended to me by one of you. I don't remember who put it on my radar, but I am very excited about it. It's about an innkeeper, which I automatically love, but it's an innkeeper of otherworldly people. The inn itself is sentient, and something is, I think, killing people or harming people around the inn, and the innkeeper decides to do something about it. And I can't wait. I know that there are at least 2 men who come into the story, just based on the synopsis that I read. So I don't know if this is a why choose or if this is a love triangle situation. I hope it's not a love triangle situation, but we shall see if this is something I enjoy. The kind of backup option I have is one that's been on my TBR for a little bit. I do think it's rated rather lowly, so it could fit for that as well. This is Autopsy of a Fairy Tale. And the only thing I'm going to tell you about this is it is touted as a Beauty and the Beast meets Criminal Minds. So those are 2 things that I love, and I think the combination of them could be very weird. So I would like to give this one a try, but we shall see. Next, we have a celestial body or godly word in the title, if I remember correctly. And I am going to choose Goddess of the River for this. This is a book by Vaishnavi Patel, who is the author of Kai Kai, who I dearly loved that book. It was just amazing. And I want to read something else by this author. The only thing I do worry about with this story is it is a mother-son story, and motherhood stories don't always work for me. But because I've loved Vaishnavi Patel in the past, I kind of have faith that it's going to be something that I enjoy. I believe this follows a river goddess who is turned human and ends up having a mortal son. And I think that the goddess ends up becoming a goddess again, but then has to deal with the fact that her son will eventually die. I don't know exactly where we go from there or what she does to try and protect her son, but I can't wait to find out. My backup for this prompt is going to be the City of Gods and Monsters. This could also work for a large city, I believe. So this one is a book I haven't heard anybody talk about, but it does sound intriguing. We have a human girl who lives in a large city that caters to werewolves, vampires, witches, and other supernatural beings. And she is a very ordinary human being, but she ends up becoming the almost victim of an abduction by some people who have the ability to view other people's auras. And because she wasn't the victim, one of her friends ends up being taken instead, and she has to help the investigation to try and get her friend back. So I think that it could be really interesting. I like it when humans and supernatural beings have to interact and live together peaceably. I like how authors can construct worlds like that, so I'm curious to see how this one is put together. The last prompt for the regular prompts of Tar, which are the ones that were given to us, is a chilling cover or a winter setting. And for this one, I am going to try and throw in The Resurrectionists, which I talked about in my, was it my mystery horror video? I think that's the one I talked about it in. This is regarding it. I think it's set in Edinburgh, if I remember correctly, and it is someone who is trying to get into medical school or surgeon school. So he has already gone through his schooling, but they will not let him operate on cadavers or test things out on cadavers because he is not one of the noble class. And so instead he makes a deal with someone who I think is killing people in order to be able to study you know, the human body. And he actually figures out that he's, you know, stepped into something he really didn't want to be in. So I am curious. I do think that it's based off of murders that actually happened. Miss J was actually talking to me about this murder, or there's a specific set of murders that went down that kind of follow the same storyline that this was based off of, which I think is going to be interesting. The other option that I have for this is The Haunting of Lee Harker, which is a haunted house story, but the house wasn't originally haunted. So it's like this girl is in her home, which has always just been normal, and all of a sudden weird things start happening and she has to figure out what's going on and why her home has changed, which I think will be intriguing. I like a haunted house story, so we shall see what happens there. So those are my options for my TBR for the Amazing Readathon. I'm very, very excited to be able to participate this year. Please let me know in the comments down below if you guys are going to be participating, or if you're not. Are you, what team are you on? You know, give me all of the emojis for your different teams if you are going to participate. If you're not going to participate, tell me what book you are most excited to read in June. If you're not feeling chatty, but you just want to let me know that you are here, leave me something regarding the cover of Missing Pages. So either a cat, a frog, a raven, something along those lines, or even like a lantern. If they have a lantern for a library, I would love to see those in the comments. Just to let me know that you guys are here with me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!